This is by far the easiest way to hard flip on a fingerboard. You want to put your index finger in the middle of the board and your middle finger on the tail of the board. I like to have my middle finger on the edge of the tail that's furthest away from me so that it's slightly hanging off the edge of my board. While the hard flip is a combination of a front shove and a kick flip, your middle finger is more so making the board flip directly upside down, while your index finger is doing most of the work by flipping the board the rest of the way and getting it to complete the front shove rotation. On top of that, having our middle finger on the edge that's furthest away from us is going to make the board flip like a heel flip when we pop the tail, and this is going to make it a lot easier for our index finger to catch on the board and flip the board like a kick flip. What really helped me get used to popping hard flips was to pull my hand back and try to shoot the board out in front of me with my middle finger. A great way to practice this is to try to pop the board so that it lands upside down on your fingers in the air. This will help you learn what it's like to have a hard flip hit your index finger, and once you have the hang of that, you're already halfway there and you just need to learn the hardest part of this trick. The hard flip is a lot different than doing a kick flip or really any other flip trick, because normally you would want to flick your index finger diagonally forward towards the nose and off the side of the board. But with a hard flip, I like to think of it as if I'm flicking diagonally backwards towards the tail and off the side of the board. The index finger is the finger doing majority of the work in this trick, and pulling backwards towards the tail of the board not only helps flip the board like a kick flip, but it's also the key to getting the board to spin the last 90 degrees of the front shove. The nice thing about fingerboarding is, unlike skateboarding where you have to jump in the air and give the board enough time to flip over, we can hold our hand in the air for as long as we want and land whenever we feel ready. So when you're first learning to hard flip, focus on getting the flip in rotation and don't worry about catching the board in the air. It's really important to make sure that your index finger is making contact with the board so that it actually flips over. I like to think of it as if I'm shooting the board out in front of me with my middle finger and getting it to flip upside down. Then I wait a fraction of a second until the board hits my index finger. Then I pull back with my index finger to finish the flip and rotation. Most tricks in fingerboarding are done in one smooth motion, but the hard flip really feels like you're doing two separate steps by popping the board with your middle finger and then flicking it once it hits your index finger. This was the thing that I had the hardest time with when learning this trick. I would try to flick immediately after the pop and my index finger would completely miss the board. So if you're finding that you're also missing the flick, try to slow things down a bit and really focus on getting the board to hit your index finger when you pop. If you find that your hard flips aren't spinning enough and are only turning 90 degrees, try turning your fingers towards you. This is going to make it easier for the board to rotate and give you a lot more control. When you have your fingers straight on the board or turned away from you, it's a lot more difficult to pop the board and get it to flip upside down, which will cause you to under-rotate your hard flips. If your hard flips aren't flipping enough and you're landing on them upside down, try putting your index finger on the edge of the board that's closest to you. This will make it much easier to flip the board.